Hey guys, how's it going? Here is your review for your Chapter 6 mid-test that you have tomorrow. So go through these problems with me, answer them before I answer them, and then make sure that our answers match up. If, as always, if you have any questions, just let me know. Okay, so let's start here. It says write a positive or negative integer that represents the situation. So the first situation is you fall off of a 5-foot ledge. So that would be -5. Your next one, you climb a 132-foot building. And then you descend an 87-foot cliff. So just main points there. Make sure you're putting the plus or the minus. You don't need a label because I'm just asking for the integer, so I just need a plus or minus and then the number. 12 feet below sea level was a -12. You shoot 5 under, then you jump 12 inches off the ground would be our answers there. All right, graph the integer and its opposite. So we have -3/2. So if I were to graph that, here is my graph. I'm gonna put, let's do 5 tick marks. Even though my graph's kind of big, but that's all right. Then if we want to label, so our middle is gonna be. Oh wait, sorry, I read the question wrong. We need to graph that number and its opposite. So actually, I want this differently. So I'm gonna put 0 in the middle. 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, -3, and then I actually need to go up to 4. All right, so like we talked about in class, you don't have to, like, the point doesn't have to exactly be on your graph. You can kind of estimate a little bit. So I know -3.5 is over here because it's halfway in between -3 and -4. And then the opposite would be halfway in between +3 and +4. So as long as you had that, you would get all of your points for that one. So our next one is 12 and -12. So I have a blurry graph here, but we'll use it anyways. So 0, 6, 8, 10. I'm going to go by threes. No, 3, so yeah. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, -3, -6, -9, -12. And then I need to graph the point at 12 and another point at the opposite, which is -12, and that would be my answer. All right, my next one is -1.9, so I'm going to put 0 here. Whoa. And then I got to think about what I can go up by so that I'll eventually hit somewhere around 1.9. So a couple of things. I don't just want to like begin with 2 here, because if I put 2 here and -2 here, then I wouldn't be using all my graph, because 1.9 is like right next to 2. So instead, I'm going to think, well, I know I want to end up somewhere around 2, and over here I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I go by 0.5s each time, that should get me to 2. So 0.5, 1, 1.5, and 2. Then I do the opposite, -0.5, -1, -1.5, -2. And then this would be -2.5. And now if I were to graph it, -1.9, like I said before, it's right next to -2. So on your test, I want to make sure that you put it right next to 2. And there's your answer. All right, so next one, we complete the statement. So we are comparing these two numbers using a less than or greater than sign. 7 is greater than -4. If you didn't know that, what I would suggest is that you put 0 in the middle, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 4. You have -1, -2, -3, -4, 5. Gotta extend a little bit. 7. So -4 is over here, and +7 is over here. Anything that's further to the right, so if you go further to the right, it's greater. So anything further to the left is less than. So here, 7 is more to the right, so 7 would be greater than -4. All right, so for this one, we would do the same number line, and we would say that 8 would be greater than -2. And here we're ordering the integers from least to greatest. So again, if you want to draw a number line, you absolutely can. If not, though, you can just see which number is the smallest. So that would be a -8. Then it would have -5, 0, 9, 11. If you want to see what the number line will look like, here it is. If not, you can go ahead and just skip to the next slide. Let's see here. So I'm going to have 0, and then I need to go all the way up to 11. So I'm going to go by threes. 3, 6, 9, 12, and then I'll go -3. Now, if I were to plot all these points, 0 would be right here, 9's right here, 11 is right there, -5 would be right about around there, and -8 would be right around there. So I just put them in order of where I plot them. So -8, -5, 0, 9, and 11. All right, so this one is graph the number in its opposite. So we have 0.8, 0. You gotta remember that there's a point there. So 0 goes here, and then I want to go up to 0.8, so I'm going to go by 0.2. So 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, -0.2, -0.4, 6, 8, -1. And then I'm going to plot my 2 points. So I have 0.8, which is right here, and -0.8, which is right there. All right, my next one is 1 3/5. So I'm going to put 0. And then my fraction is 1 3/5. So my denominator right now is 5. So I want to go up by fifths. So it can either be I want to go up by 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, whatever's going to get me to 1 3/5. So if I look here, if I just went up by fifths, I would have 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, 1. So I would not be able to go all the way up to 1 3/5. So I need to go by something bigger. So I'm going to go up by 2/5. So 2/5, 4/5, 6/5, 8/5, 11/5. And then I want to go back through them and see which ones of those could I have simplified. So 6/5 I could have simplified. I could have made that 1 1/5. 8/5 I could have made 1 3/5. And then my next one was 10/5. So I could have made that, wait, 2, 4, 6, 8, yeah. So I could have made this a 2. And then I was going to do the opposite over here. So -2/5, -4/5, -1 1/5, -1 3/5. And now I can graph it because all of these are now simplified. So I have 1 3/5 here and -1 3/5 over here. All right, complete the statement using a less than or greater than sign. So when we are comparing decimals, remember that our place values, those really matter. So actually I have a 0 here. So this is 0.30 and this is 0.35. So the greater negative number is the smaller one. So 0.30 is greater than -0.35. If you want to think about it like money, you'd much rather owe somebody 30 cents rather than 35 cents, or $30 rather than $35. So you want to put your arrow towards the smaller number or the more money you would owe. Here we have -1 2/3 and -1 3/4. So what I like to do is just think about the opposite of these. All right. So let's pretend that this is 1 2/3 and then this is 1 3/4. We know that 3/4 that is greater than 2/3. But if it's negative, that means I would owe more money than I would here. So if that's the case, then this number is greater. All right, the next one says the water level in a beaker changes by -0.23 feet Friday, -0.23 feet Saturday, and by 1.5 on Sunday. On which day was the change the greatest? All right, so we have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. What's that set? Yeah. That's all right, so on Friday, we had -0.23. And then here we had 0.23. And here we had 1.5. Sometimes let me put the dots in. I don't really get it. Okay, so I went from -0.23. No, sorry, -0.23 feet to. Oh man, I messed up my decimals. Let me go back and fix this. Okay, so this is -0.23. And this is point. I don't understand why those go away. Okay, so let's try this again. I went from -0.23 feet to positive 0.23 feet. So I know that if I added those together, now I'm at 0. So the change is 0.46 feet, because just double 0.23 would be 0.46. So between Friday and Saturday, I changed 0.46 feet. Now, from Saturday to Sunday, I went from 0 to 1.5. Well, actually, I went from 0.23 to 1.5. So to figure out what the difference is there, I'm going to take, oh my gosh, why is it? I have 1.5 minus 0.23. Remember, when we're subtracting, we line up the decimals. That's 10, it's 4, so 7, 2, 2.27. So on which day was the change the greatest? You would say the change was greatest on Sunday because we changed 1.7 there, whereas we only changed 0.46 between Friday and Saturday. All right, so there's your review. Good luck on your test tomorrow.